Hey folks, welcome back. It's what is it, December 26th, 2024. So we just got past the Christmas holiday. I've got some vacation time I'm going to enjoy. So let me check my signal here real quick, see if I'm coming through okay. Doing a mic check. Ooh, nice and rich. Sounds like we're coming through A-okay. I'm going to drop that down like that. I'm going to grab this link here. I'm going to do some social media posting really quick. Starting a little slow today, but I can roll till it's 7. It's just now 7 o'clock here in Seattle. I'm going to roll through till maybe 9 o'clock, 8:30 till 9 perhaps. Then I'm going to drop off camera for a little while, get some work done here, do some more page layouts. I was on a roll. When I woke up this morning, I just had an itch to keep working on the layouts for this adventure. And so we made some progress in part 2. And we're going to look at some of that today and then pull out another page to start work on. But just give me a moment here. I'm doing some posting, and when I'm done with that, then we'll actually dive into Photoshop and start doing some stuff. So my name is Phil Kearney. Hey, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. And we are creating an adventure for the Eberron campaign setting using Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2024 rules. I am blessed. This adventure has taken so long to complete over time because when we started this project, we didn't know there was going to be new books in 2024. So by taking the time and giving the attention the project deserves, we ended up winning by not having to rebuild the thing for 2024. So although it's backwards compatible, blah, 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 if you have the toys, it's great to use them. And just like with the color mana system and the Spelljammer combat and exploration system and the ability check casting system that we have, I want to update all these things to 2024 just because I want them like Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica. I want all that stuff to be current in 2024 because I like using 2024 mechanics. I think they're good. So I want my creative work to reflect that evolution in game design that we've had here in Dungeons and Dragons. So I guess that's probably enough ado. Let's pull the backwards forward. Here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. Here's the full playlist of all 379 episodes. If you just want to tackle 1,500 hours, 1,000 hours worth of content, you're welcome to dive into that and see all the maps being made and all the philosophy and conversations and design stuff and the reiterations and the new designs that we had to build at and rebuilding the maps. We go through a ton of that process here on stream. If you're looking to burn hours, you can certainly do so. Here's a bunch of books I've already created on DMsGuild. They all have free previews. Check them out. And I guess without this book cover, back around episode 40. There you go. Okay, great. So, hey, we've been working on this. NPCs stuck in a tree. There's undead at the ground below them. I do plan on working on this, I think, some today. But what I'm most excited about in this moment, and I want to pursue that, is this intro into part 2, Into the Mist, where the characters enter the manifest zone, and within inside the manifest zone, there is a forgotten cemetery, a gatehouse, and flooded fortress that the characters can explore. You don't need to go to all 3 of them to progress to part 3 underground. All 3 of them lead there. The flooded fortress and the gatehouse have obvious entryways, while the cemetery has a secret passage. 2 secret passages that the characters can find. And the way that it's structured, it's hardwired into the cemetery. But the more I'm running through this, the more it may be that the DM wants to offer opportunities for combat with undead, which the cemetery offers plenty of. But it doesn't allow for social interaction unless you find an NPC who is escaping from the facility through the secret passages that are in the cemetery, and that further reinforces them using the cemetery as their primary access point into the underground facility, which completely circumnavigates the Red Wolf mercenaries, who can be built as allies if necessary, or the Flooded Fort, where there's an alternate entryway into the underground complex. So you can structure it so by taking some time and rebuilding the cemetery layout. Not the layout, the map is the same, but the layout of the information we have, we can shift the secret passages in the cemetery to becoming optional encounters. That if the DM doesn't want to give you the underground passage, then you have to interact with the Red Wolves. If that's the direction that the DM wants the adventure to go, you just cut off access to the secret passages until they're already inside the facility and potentially looking for ways out. At that point, they can find the secret passage through the cemetery to lead outward, at which if they had explored the cemetery and fought undead and mopped that place up and then ran across Red Wolf mercenaries, who then led them back to the Flooded Fort and the Gatehouse to go underground and have allies with the Red Wolves. When you do that, you can set that up so you could then use all 3 points. You could use, if you avoided the cemetery altogether, you can use it as an escape point that the team then has to fight through the undead to get out of, instead of having fought the undead to get into, and then finding there's nothing there. So, and if you want to do it as a one-shot, ignoring the Red Wolf mercenaries and having them start in the cemetery to then specifically find the secret passage that leads them down into the underground complex that is literally right next to where the Nexus is at, where the ritual is being performed. You can really collapse time frames in the adventure to just get to the go and punch through it and get back out and be over with it really quick. But again, if you want to expand and extend the amount of time that the team is playing inside of this adventure as part of a larger campaign, keep the secret passages concealed until the team is inside the facility and needs a convenient way to get out. That secret passage becomes really convenient when it's necessary. So that's some of the stuff that I've been contending with. So it's requiring some rewriting and restructuring it. So like we currently have it so that characters in the cemetery are trapped in this this man-eating plant. Trapped victim is the section here, and basically it describes a carnivorous plant catching an NPC that can give you information about what's in the facility or who's there or what they've experienced, depending on which plot hook you're going with. But it's a static passive. It's a passive encounter. If we change this to instead be this victim is escaping from the facility and being pursued by Emerald Claw Zealots, it immediately forms a link between victims and being attacked, and the difference between the Emerald Claw Zealots and the mercenaries that have very different philosophical approaches to how they should be treating people. And in fact, we make the Emerald Claw Zealots, we make them white undead, whites, WIGHTs, but without the undead, without the life draining property, and instead give them weapon masteries. So they become decent combatants, but CR3 creatures that are vastly more powerful than the NPCs that they're pursuing, but are still a decent XP threat, a CR threat against 7th and 8th level characters. You put like 5 whites in the party and it can become a deadly encounter. So that's a lot of fun. So that's how I'm rebuilding it. I'm going to be swapping out this trapped victim and this carnivorous plant, drop the carnivorous plant altogether, and just lean into, because the Emerald Claw is so background currently. You have the necromancers that are performing the ritual as basically a fight, but otherwise the zealots don't really play into it very much. They don't really have much place to sleep. By making them undead, they don't need to sleep, and by taking away the negative energy drain that whites naturally have and replace it with just different combat capabilities, it makes them feel more like undead soldiers that have been empowered with necrotic energy. So that's the ideas behind that. So let's go back up here. What I want to do right now is extract this page. yeah, we're still working on it all, but hey, it's coming along nicely. So we've got the structure here figured out, but we're still figuring out the language. Like we still have words that we're filling in here because this was not the original formatting of information that we had when we first built, and then Stuart edited the adventure. I'm now taking all the different pieces that had been edited from these different sections, and I'm compiling them in a different in a different format, which we've seen now consistently, like patterns, being repetitive patterns inside of the adventure, so that the DM can just automatically click into the information they need by seeing, oh yeah, unique terrain, and here's the things. And then we have the icons that we built, like the Crystal Mabar land tiles that we have, and the Ferric Vine land tiles that we have, and the Emerald Cap tiles that we have. We built all these tiles already on stream, so I can just drop them into these symbol positions next to these different types of unusual manifest zone plants and terrain that exist. So all these components already exist. Now all I have to do is extract the pages and drop it in, but I need to finish cleaning up this reformatting here, which I will have done today. And then that means that we'll be able to erase this entire page, because this is just, I'm pulling sentences and pieces of information out of that to drop onto this in the new format, and then throw this page away completely. And then that takes us into the optional encounters, where there's the sinkhole chamber that we built the map on, like around episode probably 300. And then we have the Red Wolf Patrol that will lead the characters back to the flooded fort so they can start engaging in social and exploration encounters with the Red Wolf mercenaries. And then the Tree of Woe can be encountered just randomly. There should also be a gazebo in here. Oh yeah, for the undead amok there, which is different from the sinkhole. The sinkhole is basically generating ghouls and ghasts to attack the team, while undead amok is just free roaming undead and like fresh dead and various types of just undead minions running around. But we have the gazebo map that we can attach to the undead amok map. So I need to figure out what's this, like, which of these encounters do I need to have first, so I can have the map and the text necessary here to properly fit on the page. So that's the challenge that I'm currently facing. And with God's grace, we'll have that done before tomorrow. I'll be back on vacation tomorrow as well, so we can keep working on these pages together. And then tomorrow afternoon, between streams, I can start working on the Forgotten Cemetery, and then the Flooded Fort, and then the Gatehouse here. So each of these has like 8 different areas, and so Gatehouse is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, and then we dive directly. Then we go underground into the Nexus. So I think I'll be able to get the conditions page resolved and start getting into the cemetery. Cemetery is going to be it's going to take a little time, because I have to rebuild that victim encounter into an optional chase encounter, and each one, and of course that encounter is in every single plot hook with different characters. So I need to rebuild all of the options and down in the appendix down below, which is what we've been working on. So anyway, that's some of the challenges that I'm facing right now. What I actually want to do right now, since I explained all that, what I actually want to do is take this page and extract this and actually start doing artwork on it. This is page 27. So we're going to go down to here in in Microsoft Word. So using Microsoft Word as it's such a good program. It really is a good program. It's page 27 that we want to have. So we're going to go to 27, and then we're going to go to our options. We're going to select the current page, document only, without any properties or structure tags. That is okay. We will publish as a single page PDF. There it is. You can see single page PDF. We'll drop that away. We'll go here into Photoshop. We'll file, open. Page, yeah, this will be a new thing. Let's go to Crystals of Mabar 27. There it is. Open. And let's go back here, and let's go to filigree and background, and duplicate those layers, in page 27 PDF equals OK. Click here for more fun. Blip. And then we put that there. And as you can see, the document fits just fine on this page. So now I can go to save as this document into artwork. Act 2 is part 2 now. We're going to rename this Manifest Zone. Yeah, page 27. Beep. There we go. Hit save here for now. Okay, great. So there's a few elements I want to go fetch. I have to find them though. So bear with me here for a moment. Environment tokens, cover, production, landscape, doors and things, grid. I just need to, I guess, peel through the document here just a little bit to go find. Here's one of the massive door lifts. This metal, the different areas inside the dungeon underground in the facility has these huge blast doors with windows in them that separate rooms from each other because they were fucking around with undead. So they wanted to have ways of containing threats if they arose. So you had these plates, these control plates on both sides of the door that if you press this button here, this number 4, paf, that locks the door. You could lock it from both sides. You could lock it from either side. Yeah, so you can lock things into, or you can lock things out of getting to you. And then you can just turn, number 2 is a crank. So you can just turn the crank and the wheel turns. If you press the middle button 3, it's basically just like a punch plate. So if you hit that, it'll either make the door open or close depending on how it's set. Yeah, neat little gizmo that you can use tinker tools or thief tools to manipulate. Like if someone's locked you into a room, you can use tinker tools or thieves tools to pick open the plate that goes through the machinery to open it from either side if you can pick it. I'm looking to see. Yeah, this is that carnivorous plant that we are going to not use simply because it's complicated. It's just complicated. I don't remember what that was. Okay, this is not the document that we're looking for. What I'm looking for are these neat little icons we had drawn in like the early days of the adventure. We were playing with these like little like icons for the different locations, and I kind of want to fetch into that, but I'm not sure. Landscape blank page. Is it a blank page? Truly is a blank page file. So we're hunting. We're just hunting for it. Grid. That's just a simple grid. So let's get rid of that. It's hiding in here somewhere, I'm sure. Intro. Regional map. Nope. Handouts. No handouts have been created yet. Environment tokens. Cover, act, app. Appendix 1, Appendix 2. Maybe we go back out here. Early draft of the eye, but not what we're looking for. Where are you hiding? Here they are. These are what I was looking for. They aren't quite what I need anymore, but I wanted to grab them. Okay, so let's see. Text 27. Put a lock on that. Okay, so here's how it reads, right? Part 2, Into the Mist. Part 2 consists of 3 regions inside the Manifest Zone: Forgotten Cemetery, Flooded Fortress, and the Gatehouse. Each region leads the characters underground to the nexus of the Manifest Zone. Underground, where that's some redundant language that we can fix. Each region leads the characters underground to the nexus of the Manifest Zone, period. To the Nexus Zone, where the Eye of Mabar is located, and the Emerald Claw cultists are performing the ritual creating the Manifest Zone. The Manifest Zone. While Manifest Zones connected to Mabar typically display the influence of the plane, they remain a part of the environment they occupy, such as gloomier forests, darker nights, or a nearly tangible sense of dread. This one, however, has been dramatically amplified by the powers of the artifact. Dread, such as, but still remain normal. Normal terrain. This one, however, has been dramatically amplified by the power of the artifact and the ritual that the Emerald Claw is conducting. The ritual opens a conduit to Mabar through the artifact, bleeding necrotic energy directly into the region, destroying vegetation and leeching life from the soil, transforming the forest into Mabaran terrain. Characters influenced by planar energies, such as Horizon Walkers, or a strong connection to Mabar, like shadow magic sorcerers, Shadar Kai, etc. Since the unnatural terrain is infused with planar energy, the characters influenced by planar energies, such as Horizon Walkers, since the unnatural terrain. Since the terrain is infused with unnatural planar energy, unnatural planar energy. Characters proficient in Arcana or Nature can make a Wisdom Insight check DC 15 sense this as well. Each of the 3 regions inside the Manifest Zone connect to Part 3, leading the characters underground. They don't need to explore all 3 during the adventure. The DM decides which regions the characters encounter based on the plot hooks and events of the adventure in Part 1, as described to the right and detailed further below. In addition, the Manifest Zone itself has encounters to challenge the characters as they explore the environment between each region. So we have this, I'm going to hit save, we have this space that exists here. So I wanted to start playing with ideas about how I can place these elements. The way the place is set up is that it's let's get a darker bit. It's a circle, and it's a 5-mile diameter circle. At the center is the gatehouse, and then there's the flooded fort, and then there's the the cemetery, and the cemetery and the flooded fort don't actually connect, but they face each other. So this is the center of it, and this is about 1,000 feet, like a 500 foot, like a 2x2 space at the 500 foot scale. While this is a 5 mile space overall. One, two, three. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's not accurate, but something like that. So, but I need to zoom in closer. Kind of like that. Something like that. And then from here, what I'm thinking is thinking like this. Probably going to end up looking something like that. Let's actually merge these down. Let's go with free trans. Excuse me. Why can't I? What is going on? Could not transform a second pixel because it's like, fine, whatever, dude. Can I do that? Sure, whatever. It is what it is. So that's the size that I actually have to operate here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Cut, paste here. Here, and it's like that. tops there, and then bottoms here. Line up the top there, line up the bottom there. I can't have it fill the same size here. I mean, I could, but I feel a little squinched. Okay, we'll make those a little bit bigger. Yeah, bring that in a bit. That feels good. And then up here, you're the odd one, but if I angle you correctly, we could probably have that. I should be brought in a bit. That means this one comes in a bit. Yeah, that feels good. It's not too heavy, and I can put a little bit of atmosphere around in the background. I need to open a window real quick. Hold on, I'll be right back. I feel like I'm overheating a little bit, so need to open a window up. There we go. Should feel a bit better for myself here. Looks like I have to hit save. My mouse has stopped functioning. So I'm going to unplug my keyboard or my Wacom tablet and then plug it back in. It'll pick up the signal here in a second. Thank you. And we should now have, yeah, we have control again. There. 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 Yeah, it feels okay. Now I don't need to do that. I can do that though. This is both an above ground and underground passage that leads from the flooded fort to the gatehouse. I kind of like that. That's kind of interesting. There's no path that leads directly from. There's like there's a cobblestone path that connects the flooded fort to the gatehouse, but there is no pathway that connects the cemetery to the gatehouse. There is an underground passage that connects the fortress to the gatehouse and the cemetery to the gatehouse. So the dotted line feels appropriate. Maybe I can do it copy paste for transform like this instead. Oh, that's kind of fun. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Let's do that. That feels pretty good. Yeah. Okay. And then we have labels for letters. We're still working on the specific font here, but generally speaking, we have A, B, and C. I'm trying to think about text order. Is there a way? It's a little clumsy that I have them spaced out this way, that they're not like A, B. It's like A, C, and B. A, and then C, and then B. Like having, if I had C here, it's a little complicated, because if you're reading the page full, you go down here to the manifest zone, and then here it's C, then A, then B. So if I start here at A, and then your eye naturally moves B and then C, I think the eye actually flows smoothly like this. I think that works. And I don't necessarily have to limit myself to just a circular representation for this. I can box up and drop that down. I like that double line. I like how that is. I like how that is. That feels good. It just feels good. I like that. Text, lettering. We can merge those down. Bump. That's good. That's good. We can leave that be like that. We can go in here like this. We can do... switch our text like that. There you go. That looks really good. Nice. Maybe that feels okay. Let's see how that lines up. How's that space go? Not bad. Not bad. A lot of the smoke in the facility, or the fog that fills the manifest zone and is blowing through the Carnwood on the Plague Wind, is coming from the gatehouse. It's basically a giant chimney for necrotic fog to drift forth from. The fog is pretty intolerable long term. You can't rest in it. You can't get hit dice back. You can't get rid of exhaustion in it. At the base, like basically right here, in a bunch of tents, is where the Red Wolves, like, this is their main staging ground for, like, that's their base of operations. And while soldiers can sleep underground, there is barracks in the facility below. During the day, you have to kind of roam around outside here. So they have these air turbines that they can turn that basically create a gust of wind effect that pushes the fog out away from the wind vane that's the turret that's spinning. It's got a 20-foot radius, so you can put some tents in there and like have a clean table and put a fire up and not have to worry about your food getting disgusting. And it allows you to sleep that way, but it's also, when you run across it, it's real obvious that it's there. And it's also fragile in that if it gets attacked, it's going to fall apart real easily. And if it stops it running at any point, then the fog just starts to immediately collapse in on the area and becomes fouled. So effectively, this air is poisoned, and if you're alive and you're breathing it and you don't have any kind of filtering, then you basically have the poison condition while you're in that mess. and you can there's this melange that they make from the plague moss and the florets. They basically mash into this potpourri that you shove into a plague mask, and you breathe through that, and it filters out the toxins and the fog, so you don't get the poison condition while you're in it. Huh. Yeah, gatehouse is effectively like this. Yeah, there you go. And then the flooded fort. I was thrilled to discover this morning that Mystery Science Theater in Season 8, Episode, I think it was 13, 813, did work on the movie Jack Frost from Finland. And by God, I love that movie. It is so freaking funny. I first ran across that movie like at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was 14. Staying up all night on caffeine and sugar, just wedging, as we would call it, wedging all night, either painting, like drawing, or making maps, or playing D&D. But late night television back in the 80s and 90s, there were no, like, there was some sort of crazy FTC rule. Not FTC, but like some sort of like broadcast rule that after midnight, or maybe it was 2 a.m., there weren't any regulations anymore on like what was decent content. So there'd be movies like nudity in it, like at 2 o'clock in the morning. And when you're a 14-year-old kid, you're like, oh, this is worth staying up for. So I'd stay up super late on Saturday nights to see if they're going to play something inappropriate or not. And oh boy. But that also led me into seeing Jack Frost from Finland. It's like 1963 or something like that. Maybe 65. I have no idea how old it actually is. But by God, it's a funny movie. And that Mystery Science Theater got their hands on it just pleases me infinitely. My God, it's awesome. Such a funny movie. It's you have to see it. It's an experience, man. Jack Frost is its own experience. Something like that. And then a cemetery. There's really not a lot. Yeah, cemetery doesn't have a lot going on to it, honestly. Bridge down. Oops. Yeah, that's kind of lackluster, huh? I can't just like put a cross on top because there was no Christ. So there is no... It's tricky. Maybe do it like that. Something like that looks kind of cool, how it like bleeds in. I like that. I like that. I like that. Huh. There's also the idea of us just doing quick samples. Let's try that. Let's make it more manageable. Would I instead like maybe do that? No, there's no way. That doesn't make any sense. Nah, let's not do that. Let's just do the side-wide thing. This feels more interesting anyway. Yeah, I like that. I think I like that. I'm gonna hit save for now. We're gonna put this on hold because we're gonna come back and dive into this a little bit more deeper later. Let's get the cemetery out of the way. I've got this fidgeter that I spin sometimes when I'm thinking about stuff. It's got a... Where'd I go? Hey, yo. If I can get it to face the right way. It's a little skull and crossbones. It's fun. Made of stainless steel. Brass, maybe. I'm not sure what color it is. Yeah, but we're going to put this on hold for now. We'll probably come back and work on this tomorrow. We're going to continue work on the up a tree. Let's see. Liking that. Let me go fetch some villagers. Here, open. We'll go to art. We'll go to creatures. Creatures and characters. Village folk. Get out of the way. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. That'll give us some basic color formatting. So let's take that and that. REF, reference. Start off like this. Go. There we go. There. That feels good. I like that. That feels good. We're going to work on Bastions some more today. I'm really looking forward to that. God, I love working on Bastions. We've been rebuilding the Bastion system from the DMG 2024 into an exploration format, so that you can use your Bastions to create new adventure plot hooks. Like have a system of actually developing different plots along with what you're doing in your bastions, so that the results of different bastion orders that you issue actually generates results, or like conditions, complications and problems inside of the actual campaign world that your characters can resolve. It's a different sort of style of play than what the bastion system is presenting, but I've been using that style in my home game for the past 6-ish months, since February, and it's been an awesome campaign so far. So I'm looking forward to that continuing. But it also tells me that the rules that we use to create it are really stable rules that we can afford to lean into. Let's see. Let's grab some of that. We're almost done with all the facilities that are listed in the Dungeon Master's Guide for the default Bastion system that they provided, which of course we're absorbing really well into the ability check system that we've been developing. Let's square that off. Yeah, so we'll be back at 2 o'clock Seattle time, which will be 4 p.m. Central time, and we'll have a number of hours to work on that based on how I'm feeling. But between 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock, that's a good 5-hour block of time that I can work on these page layouts, as well as get some work done here just around the house in general. And be ready to dive into those bastions at 2 o'clock. God damn, I'm really looking forward to working on that. The Spelljammer subclass options are coming along pretty nicely as well. But I gotta say, by far, I am most enthusiastic about Bastions, more so than anything. There we go. Very, very basic, but it looks good. It reads well. Just as a figure, I think it reads well. So I'm very happy with that. This is the base model. Then we'll be able to go in and detail it with like a little bit of line art to clean up the shirt and stuff like that. That looks pretty good. We're at 8 o'clock already. Oh, I actually had a timer going. You know, that's definitely something that's missing from my life right now is a good old timer. So let's set a timer here on my phone here. We'll go with 20-minute bursts, and we'll be done. We'll be done in an hour for today. And then, like I said, we'll be back at 2 o'clock to work on Bastions. I had some time to work on that over the holidays, fleshed out some of the bits. We've been building the scaffold of like how much, at what rank or level of your character should you have access to being able to create different types of materials. We've just about got that sussed out. So once we get to that point, we're going to be able to start collapsing these things into each other and building a more coherent scaffold or like a ladder for your characters to know, like, well, we have a second rank facility, so that means we'll be able to craft like this expense worth of material or like items in the game, whether they're magical or non-magical. Hey, what's up? Hey, Domo. What are the benefits of Bastions when comparing against other Stronghold rules? That's a great question. I don't like the Bastion system from 2024. I think it's garbage. So let's just start the conversation there. It's crap. But you also have to think about, like, what is it actually supposed to be doing? They give it the title of Bastion in 2024, but what it does is it provides a sort of like narrative for giving for players choosing what benefits their character has access to. All it is it allocates, like, I want to have a magic item and I don't want to have to ask my DM to get it. So I'm going to build a Bastion that will eventually just allow me to make magic armor or magic staff or whatever. And or like potions or books. I don't have to ask. I don't have to worry about like going to somewhere in the world to find a book. Like, if I just need a spell book to start throwing spells into, I don't want to have to go hunt for it. I just want to have a damn book. And that's what the Bastion system is actually providing to the players, is just a means of being able to have stuff. They can just have stuff. And that's pale in comparison to what Bastion systems are capable of doing, especially in older editions. Of course, the oldest BECMI editions of the game, Bastions or Strongholds, were established to attract an army. Once you have a property, you have army or specialists that come in that become your NPCs, your NPC followers. Because like in the BECMI game system, expert got you out of the dungeon into your stronghold, and then the companion, BECMI, the C part of companion, is you're accumulating companions that are allies to you that basically form like your generals and your armies and stuff like that to wage war against other strongholds that have been set. Because again, the basic D&D was a means of how do we take a war game and make individual characters that we can control individually inside of this war game frame. And so they basically reversed engineered it down to a single character, and then they rebuilt it back up. So, okay, well, once this character has enough power, they have their own army, and now we're back into the tabletop warfare simulation. And so that's what the Companion and the Master series did. Was it gave you resources to create kingdoms and armies to control it or defend it, and then the mechanics to be able to run that army, and they still had army mechanics and stuff in 3rd edition, but by 4th edition they'd pretty much scrapped all that stuff out. So Dominion doesn't really mean that much anymore in the world of how. Hold on, real quick. Yeah, okay. There's not a lot of contrast in this shirt for me. For you, I'm sure it has a lot of color contrast. But for me, in a grayscale eyes, with my grayscale eyes that I have, these are very, like, if this gray is like a 4, this is a 5. They're very, very close. So I have to be mindful of that while I'm working on this. But I like this composition, so I want to keep this character as it is. Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, the Bastion system compared to like and that's basically like MCDM is held up basically as like the, I wouldn't call it a gold standard or anything in the least bit, but it's probably the most well-known 5e mass combat option that exists currently, simply because MCDM is popular, and they got people to buy the same idea twice in different books. So I mean, cheers to them. But it's there isn't really a lot of competition for that in the 5e market right now. The Bastion system that we're creating attempts to re-inject that idea of, hold on real quick, I want to grab. That feels good. Hold on, where'd you go, buddy? Here he is. There you go, buddy. Yeah, there isn't a lot of contrast there. I need to grab. I got sidetracked there real quick. Hold on. Yeah, as it stands right now, the Bastion system in 5e, it's just basically an easy way for your characters to get access to rudimentary resources without having to worry about, asking the DM for permission or minor magic items that eventually, like powerful items, eventually become just standard magic items when your characters get high enough level. So them incorporating a means for you to basically say, yeah, I want these magic items is reasonable, but the crafting rules are still a little bit thin. So 5e doesn't have any real crafting rules, and 5e doesn't have any real mass combat warfare system. And those are the two basically primary reasons to have to implement Bastion systems in your game. They also don't have any kind of actual, if you decide not to do anything specific with your Bastion, just maintain your Bastion, you've got a 50% chance of having something interesting happen that might be good or bad, but it's largely just something that you resolve as a social interaction and then move on. And so that kind of eliminates how well you can lean into the idea of Bastions of being of generating an adventure, like having adventures based around the theme of your Bastion. It's not really possible with the way that 5e set it up, because there is no risks or any real actual impact on the environment or society at large of what it is that you're doing with your Bastion. It doesn't technically matter. It's just something your characters have access to, which I have a huge problem with, which is why I'm going through this process of publishing my take on using ability checks to express what your Bastion is attempting to do. It cements it into what the 5e game engine is, using 5e game mechanics. That's my biggest complaint with MCDM. Sure, they have a very big book with lots of options, but you don't play 5e when you're playing MCDM games. You're playing a D20 game that can kind of straddle. It doesn't attach to, but it straddles the 5e game engine, because it's a different type of engine that they're wrapping the 5e game experience inside of. And if that's the best solution that they could come up with, then God bless them. They did their best. But I know for a fact it could be done better, because I've played and ran better. So it just required more time to cook and a little bit a different sort of thought processes to be able to make the 5e game engine really work for mass combat. And you can see You can see that in the in command series of my in command playlist that I have on this channel, and that'll link you to the in command of guilds and guilds and armies supplement that I have on a Google Doc. And you'll also see an example of setting up mass combat in Greenest and Flames as a sample combat encounter, and you see it existing inside my Spelljammer combat and exploration mechanics for commanding squadrons and fleets of ships. It's the exact same mechanics that we have set up for mass combat. It's just I'm just one guy, so it takes me forever to be able to build out large sets of mechanics, and it's not the only fish I'm trying to fry. So I mean, if I had $1 million Kickstarter and I could hire a whole bunch of people, then I'd be able to crack out that Guilds and Kingdoms book probably in like 3 months, but that's not who I am. So alas, I have to follow my own path. But luckily, it doesn't seem like anyone else in the world thinks like me. God bless. So I'll have the time to express the mechanics the way that I want to express them, and it'll still be probably a very unique idea. Because again, it just doesn't seem like anyone else approaches D&D as a game engine the same way as I do. So I'd say that's my solo, my couture design edge, is that I can afford to look at things from a different perspective because I don't have any kind of real production pressure on me other than time spent, you know? That, I'm going to get rid of that strap. I don't think that feels good on her. I sound pretty precocious when I talk like that, but I've been running mass combat in D&D for like, 30 years. So I've had a lot of experience with battle system and skirmish and miniatures handbook. It's been a lot of different renditions of mass combat in D&D across the different ages, and so I know that mass combat can be done using whichever game engine currently exists for Dungeons and Dragons. You don't have to completely invent a new system to run a mini game inside it. You can stay in the 5e game engine and it'll work fine. It just takes time and effort to build it. So I think giving characters their own locations, resources, absolutely it is. But separating it from the rest of the party and even the DM feels like unneeded isolation. They're trying to make it modular so that it isn't required to play, and if you do decide to implement it, that it doesn't take over the game. That's what their concern is, that you stop playing the game with your characters to potentially burn out on like gaming economy and stuff like that, which is why they call that sort of thing out in the recorded conversations they have on their YouTube channel. So they know there's a hunger, and they've seen successful Kickstarter with the promise for some sort of Dominion style play. So they wanted to insert something that was quick and easy, that wouldn't overburden the system. And I respect that, but I think leaning into that as another avenue, if you've spent time on my channel with me during Bastion, you know that like my idea is that Bastions are great adventure hooks, and you can let them be the center of your campaign if you have the resources to have an abundant enough amount of risks and threats and opportunities for your characters to achieve things with their Bastion that deterring them from achieving it becomes a source of motivation in keeping the Bastion safe and advancing goals of your Bastion as characters. So, but I've spent a lot of time talking about those ideas, and if anyone doesn't know what those are, like isn't familiar with those conversations, then I can always dive through them again, or go just check out the past couple episodes of the Bastion that I have published here on my channel, and you'll see me going through those conversations about like, why is this necessary? What is this style of like ability check Bastions? What does it actually do for your game? Why bother? And I think there's a lot of benefits to it, and hopefully I'll be able to get that across, like when we start looking at complications like completing tasks and stuff. So that's the idea. And boy, I really like how these characters sit. That just feels really, really good to me. I'm very, very pleased. So while we're here, we're gonna go grab a tree reference. Let's go to Shady Tree Bark. So maybe something like this would probably be really good. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Domo. I'm just kind of rambling, because I mean, you might have specific ideas about like what Bastion is supposed to be, and you might have very very evolved ideas. Open image in a new tab. Thank you. That's the money shot right there. Scooch those out of the way, so you know they're not in the way. Beat, beat, and boo. All right, let's start here with the color. Let's get this out of the way so I can see what Domo's talking about. There, that's good framing. So, the way I see it, an evolving reflection of both the character and the party's growth, interest, and impact on the world. It's a place to return to. Yeah. By having a permanent thing that the characters call home or acts as a touchstone that can evolve over the course of the campaign is a finite, tangible marker that indicates they're actually making a difference in the world. They're actually impacting the world with the decisions that they make. The way that I express it is that because as they have those impacts, they get access to more resources, like resource points. It's like a mana pool. So you get access to more resource points to invest into your bastion to make it bigger, more powerful, or to seed trade or diplomatic connections with other organizations, so that you can start choosing how you influence the environment around you, not only just building your bastion, but also how do you use that bastion to interact with the larger world at a level that is unbecoming of adventurers. Like, again, it's not accounting and bookkeeping, it's fighting monsters, right? So you want to have a game that allows you to do that, but also has that tangible feeling to it, so that you know the fight that you're fighting is worth having, right? If that makes any sense. So so I love having bastions, because as you said, it's a tangible way to be able to demonstrate change in the world, and that your characters make a difference. And the more your characters, the more the players recognize that they can impact the world, the more they can potentially get invested into it. Like, I don't know how many times I've either DM'd or played in campaigns where just some random business or shopkeeper or traveling minstrel or something like became the pet of the team, and suddenly you're throwing like effectively billionaire worth of resources into this homeless guy who's just trying to sell cabbage. It's like, you've just become our project. We're going to build you into something truly amazing. And then they just like dump months worth of spell resources and stuff into just making this cabbage guy like ridiculously powerful, and like like give him a cabbage empire. It's like, that's just the kind of crap that players do, especially if they're bored with the world ending plot and they just want to downshift into something a little like they want to express how inane the campaign is, by choosing a task that is inane equal to the quality, like equal to the inanity that the players perceive the adventure, campaign, or plot line to be. Like, this is like, you want us to go save the world and get these MacGuffins, and that sounds stupid. So instead, we're going to spend our time doing something stupid. Let's make a donut shop, and make it a donut shop so good that Zeus himself has to come and eat our donuts. And that becomes our quest. And if the DM can't get on board with that, then you're not going to get very far in your fucking adventure. And I have done this. I personally have participated in multiple campaigns in high school and college that ran just like this. Your story is stupid. You're unwilling to change it. We're now going to build a golf course in the middle of Athos. We built a golf course in Athos with 22nd level characters. It was awesome. It was awesome. But our DM just basically would just sit there and smoke cigarettes and just like, okay, great. What else do you do? Because he realizes that the story has just completely been disregarded and that we're just blowing steam in frustration. And while and until DM morale improves, shenanigans shall continue. But that's the whole thing, like, about murder hobos. You don't have murder hobos in your game if your game is good. It's when your players get bored, they either become murder hobos or they become philanthropists. We're not murder hobos, so we became philanthropists. And that's the kind of crap that you do. Dominion gives you a direct outlet for that philanthropy. I want to avoid what's going on in your campaign world sort of vibe. And if your DM leans into it, then that becomes an entire campaign that's super fucking fun. But it kind of has that like shenanigan tier of play. It's like it can be serious business, but you don't want to take it too seriously at the same time. It's very tongue-in-cheek and very meta. But at the same time, it's super satisfying. So if you actually build your campaigns around those potentials and ideas, then it becomes really fucking fun. So there just don't exist any rules in 5e, really. Like, and by that I mean Wizards of the Coast hasn't presented any options that allows us to lean into that type of gameplay, and they need to exist. And the Bastion is probably about as close as we're going to get to that style of play, because WotC is a real McChicken of game design. Awesome game engine. They don't have any really good like test drivers. No, that's not the right word. Like if what's the analogy? If D&D was a race car and WotC was the like Porsche or Corvette or something that's building these awesome machines to race in the Indy 500 or pick the race of your choice. They have an awesome car, but they don't have a good driver, and the driver would be the visionary of product design and like the lead design for just the IP as a whole, like the D&D property itself. They're more like I keep throwing out analogies because I don't know the terms, but like in fashion, you've got retail and you've got couture. Couture's all the cutting edge, crazy crap that eventually softens and normalizes like 5 years down the road. Weird couture stuff. You see like a tame version of it as retail. Retail takes where fashion wants to go and makes it consumable by the unwashed masses. And that's kind of what D&D is. They have a Porsche of an engine, but they're committed to retail type of design. So they can't really just let it tear free. Like they're exploring, like they're opening up the throttle a little bit by letting third-party companies publish on D&D Beyond. Of course, I am incredibly jealous of that, but I haven't earned it. I haven't earned the right to be there, and so I have to recognize, I can't be sore about the state of things. I have to recognize where I am versus where they're at. And so that, like, ultimately I'm just going to have to play on the DMsGuild and then get into Kickstarters. And if at some point my Kickstarters grow large enough, maybe I'll have a chance of being on D&D Beyond with some of these ideas as well and help sculpt the zeitgeist of what 5e is supposed to be. But I certainly have a lot of opinions about it. So while we're going through that process, this Bastion system is just my next contribution to the conversation about like how excellent of an engine 5e really is for technical role-playing games. Like Fate, Numenera, Blades in the Dark might be better, or like Vaesen, Free League in general might be better for like less mechanically complicated games, more narratively focused, which I enjoy in building my own narratively focused role-playing game as it is. So I'm not disparaging that, but I also enjoy designing for technically complicated games. And 5e is complicated enough to allow for a lot of design diversity, but isn't so technical that it becomes a real pain in the ass to operate. So like Pathfinder 2 and Pathfinder 1/3rd edition D&D, it's just too clunky of a game engine for me to really enjoy just like building whole cloth from. But 5e is great to build subsystems and like these snap-on mechanics to expand the play style that you're in, and then to be able to build stuff around that new design play style, like the stuff that we're doing with Spelljammer, for instance. A lot of cool stuff coming out of the Spelljammer mechanics that we're playing with. So, am I answering any questions here? Yeah. They've set that they are only driving a 200-mile-per-hour car in school zones. So they are further throttling themselves by the environment of people that they're trying to market to move at the slowest of speeds of what this engine can do. And they're kind of relying on this couture DMsGuild market to explore the fringes. And if there's any interest there, then maybe they can convert it into a school zone project. Or if like that 30 to 60 mile per hour range that we're joking about is like third parties, like the Illrigger, for instance, that's like a 60 mile per hour project on a 200 mile engine. So yeah, anyway, I could get snarky and start getting real judgy about different people. So I want to try to be mindful of that, because although everybody to me is punching up, I need to be honest about like who are they catering to, what are they trying to explore, and like a lot of third-party companies use the 5e game engine to gain notoriety for themselves to then move off into their own thing, which I can respect because I want to move off into my own thing as well, but simply because I want to try to develop some sort of future. These other businesses are trying to protect their own assets and push their own agenda, and they can do so through 3E by gathering audience before they exit into their own thing, or doing their own thing got them popularity, and so now 5E just becomes a money grab for them. And I'm judgmental about that often, mostly because I've got an overdeveloped sense of fairness. That's like the ideas that I have are coming to me because of my love for the old D&D campaigns that are being rebuilt with the 5e game engine. Like, well, we could do this differently by X, Y, and Z. Let me devote a year of my life to doing that for a different company, right? So, I mean, like at some point, I need to start assessing like how deep of a dive am I going in on this stuff as a DMsGuild project as opposed to an individual project. But I sincerely love the IPs, and this has all been fulfilling a very, very old fantasy of my 12-year-old self of being able to create books like this and make games this way. It's like it's incredibly satisfying to an incredibly old dream I had, and once that dream is satisfied, then I can shift what I'm doing. But until then, I recognize why I'm on DMsGuild, why I'm producing the content that I'm producing, and I'm incredibly thankful that I can do it. But at the same time, I can also see how things can be done like way differently. Better is debatable depending on what your objectives are. Obviously, if I didn't think there were better solutions, I wouldn't bother with them. But it's neat to be able to introduce those things into these IPs that are inspiring them, while also using them as an opportunity for me to learn how to build really cool books that I can then export out to my own thing later. But now I'm really rambling, and I'm probably not actually addressing the conversation at all. I'm just kind of rambling because I'm feeling it, because I'm blocking in color. When I block in color, I just kind of ramble about whatever spits out of my mouth. So let's now that we're starting to get these here. Yeah, that's gonna do real good. This is gonna do real good. All right, let's keep it up. So yeah, I honestly don't have a lot of positive things to say about the 5e Bastion system. It's a nominal effort that probably doesn't actually address what, like, if I was the audience that they were trying to make Bastions for, they completely missed the point. But it's what we have. So as a designer, my challenge is then, how do we take these 20 some odd pages that they devoted to this shit system, and how do we make this turd a gem? Which is what the Bastion project I've been working on is like, it gives us all these elements, but none of them produce anything that tastes good. So let's take this stuff and see what we can cook with them, and that becomes the mission. So, because I had already spent the Spelljammer book came out in March, and that book took 15 months for us to design, play test, write, edit, illustrate, and publish. So what came out in March 2024 actually began in November 2021, and then through 2022. No, yeah, that was 24 here. Yeah, 2022. It was November 2022 when we actually first started designing mechanics for Bastion, like Dominion and Mass Combat. And when Spelljammer, while we were playtesting the Mass Combat mechanics, we were developing the Dominion rules, and so we got to a point with the Mass Combat rules where we were like, okay, the actual squad engine works. So what else can we do with it? Well, can we use these same mechanics to build out siege machines, because Descent into Avernus had gotten hot during that time, and so the Infernal War Machines became Mad Max type cars. And it's like, well, you know what? These Mad Max cars are kind of scaling like our squad mechanics do. So can we use our squad mechanics, deconstruct it, and then rebuild it using vehicles? So now we can have vehicles mixed in with troops for a larger scale army. And since we were already dealing with expanding the scale of your square to incorporate larger battalions of troops, that just means that we can just have bigger ships, bigger vehicles now. And once we started playtesting those vehicle mechanics in a Descent into Avernus campaign. And we were doing Mad Max combat, like Mad Max convoy combat, where characters had taken command of cars with all sorts of weapons on them, Mad Max style, and were attacking other NPC caravans to try to become Lord of the Engine in Avernus, absorbing every motorcycle gang and an Infernal War Machine troop that they could find, pulling as many of them into basically bullying them into serving them while they were in hell, so they could bring back larger resources and a larger army back to Elturel to try to fight off the demons that were trying to climb the chains. And while we were going through that process, it was crushing it. It was absolutely fucking working. It was awesome. And some of the playtesters are still hanging out on my Discord, so you can kick through and ask them questions. What was it experienced by them, so you don't have to just take my word for it. But fucking it was so fun. And so we were almost done with those mechanics. It's like, yeah, this stuff works. And then they announced Spelljammer. And we're like, so we're looking at Spelljammer, we're like, wait a second. these same rules that we just built for the Mad Max vehicles works exactly for Infernal War Machine, for Spelljammer. If we just want to keep the war rigs as they are, those become fighter ships. And then we can just use the same mechanics and then upscale them instead of being in the 50-foot square for like a 20-foot tank or whatever, sitting inside a 50-foot space and being able to move like at 50 miles per hour. Let's upscale it again to 500 feet so we can have hammerhead ships and squid ships and these massive crafts sitting inside of a single square, but now it's a 500-foot square. So now we can have all these combat mechanics that we had built for Descent into Avernus. Now we're like, wait a second, these ships are shaped like animals. Why don't we start thinking about them as actually just being creatures, kind of like how we were looking at these squads of creatures all working together as a swarm, as an individual creature. Now we can look at the ship as an individual creature. How can we have characters' action economy lean into that, working as a team to make the ship go? And then we converted Descent into Avernus into a Spelljammer campaign, where instead of having Mad Max convoys of cars, they now had fighter craft that they were just basically flitting across Avernus, attacking demons and dragons and hordes of devils climbing the chains. So they were flying around in scorpion ships at one point, and the giant blade that Zariel has, that's a 500, that fits inside of a 500-foot space. So that just became a hell-built Spelljammer ship under Zariel's control. So the team had their own, it was like a 120-foot scorpion ship, and they used that to attack Zariel's flying fortress. And then we also had some 300-foot purple worms that were colossal-sized monsters that were trying to basically chew Elturel in half, so both sides would drop into the river Styx. So the team had to go into these 50-foot tunnels that were being made by these massive purple worms to go and kill the purple worms and all the troops that were supporting and trying to wrangle them. That was a lot of fun. But all that stuff started with these Dominion mechanics that we were developing for 5e, and you can see a lot of those mechanics sitting inside of the Spelljammer book that we published in March. And that's like a piece of the mass combat stuff, but the rest of it is the Bastion system that we've been developing. It's the whole piece of it of being able to develop a kingdom and recruiting the bodies needed to defend and expand it. And it all uses the 5e game engine, as opposed to other companies or other creators that keep trying to make these mass combat ideas but don't use 5e game engines. So it's like, you can do this with the 5e game engine. I don't understand why no one is. So that became the project, which was basically, you can do all this stuff in 5e. Here's how. And back in 2020, it was if you want to do a heist campaign, you're better off playing Blades of the Dark or whatever. It's you can do heists in the 5e game engine and use all of the same mechanics that you can see in Blades of the Dark. People are like, why bother? It's because I don't want to stop playing my D&D game to have a heist mission. If I'm going to have a war, I don't want to play Risk for 5 hours before I get back to my characters. I want to keep playing fucking 5e. So that was the goal of all these projects, and they're slowly but surely coming to fruition. It's just a very long process. So that is to say, this idea of these ability checks as a Bastion system, I've been working with them and Adam Hancock for basically the past almost 3 years now, and they're really strong. They're really, really good. I'm currently using them in my home campaign. I'm looking forward to opening up playtesting to that on my Discord server once we get done with the hex with the mega dungeon that we're doing for the martial power system. Once that's done, Bastion stuff is next. So anyway, I'm rambling a lot. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, exactly. You already have the 5e game engine. Just keep using that engine, but just look at it. There was a Reddit thread the other day, how do I run a micro campaign, like with ants. You know, like I want all the characters like Mouse Ritter. I want all the characters to be tiny size in this Secret of Nim sort of world. How am I supposed to do that? And the answer is so simple, but the person who asked it had never really considered it. So if your default is a 5-foot square, and we can take Infernal War Machines, tanks, and fighter craft to the 50-foot scale, and then Spelljammer vessels, like the big ships, operate inside of 500-foot square, and then you have fleets that operate inside of 5,000-foot square, which is basically a mile. So you have 5-foot, 50-foot, 500-foot, 1 mile, or 5,000 feet. That's basically your 3-4 scales of combat at human or larger sizes. But in a micro campaign, you take it in the opposite direction. 1/10 of 5 feet is 0.5 feet, which is 6 inches. And 1/10 of 6 inches is roughly 0.5 inches or a half inch. So you now have a half-inch square, and if you want a 2x2 space, you're now fighting a large-sized 1-inch spider. And your character is only a half inch in size. Or like you can get up to like say, maybe like there's a really small mole that's gargantuan to you that fits in a 4x4 space at the 1/2 inch scale. So this becomes a 2 inch. But by the time you get up to 6 inches, that's going to be a 10x10 space that you're occupying. So instead you should just shift up to the 6 inch. So this now becomes a 6 inch square, and like a hummingbird can easily fit inside that 6 inch space, or like a rat can fit inside that 6 inch space. So your characters at the half inch scale can ride on easily these like a hummingbird. Like you can have like 4 or 5 characters on a hummingbird if the character is only a half inch in size. So you can have this exact same scaling system. Damn it, get out of here, buddy. So you can have this exact same 5 to 1 mile scaling in the same sense that you can have half inch down to 6 inches. Like if you get down below half of an inch, like a 1/10 of a half of an inch, that's 0.05 inches. Now we're starting to look at like microcosm stuff. Like this, we're starting to push the edge of being microscopic. So half inch scale is really the smallest you need to go for any kind of practical Secret of Nims sort of Mouse Ritter, Bloom Burrow. If you're an MTG enthusiast like I am, this is the Bloom, like 6 inch is basically the Bloom Burrow scale, because they have cats, raccoons, bats. Those are all going to be like 6 inch or 1 foot size creatures that fit inside this this 6 inch by inch space, right? So that's how. So I explained this to this guy on Reddit. He's like, "That's everything I needed. I now know how to do it." It's like, but if you don't know how to deconstruct and rebuild the different components of the game engine, you can't find these things. So Wizards isn't really interested in teaching people how to build and maintain engines. They want to sell you a new car, and they want to sell you that new car as often as you're willing to buy it. So they don't make money teaching you how to build game engines. But my philosophy is, if I teach you how you can manipulate this engine, then all I really have to do is teach you the mechanics of how to do it, and then start providing you some examples of how to manipulate it. And that's pretty much the same sort of format that Wizards has, except I take the extra step of just trying to actually show you how we got there. Like this is like there is no formula that they provided with the Artificer, but when we broke down the new UA, we found pretty quickly like this construct item thing. Like at 3rd level, where you can just magic items into existence. That item could be anything that's up to like 10 pounds that doesn't cost more than 2 gold pieces. Anything's pretty much game inside of that space, as long as it's not consumable. That sets a very easy, concrete rule that you can now use for rulings on, hey, can my Artificer make this? Is like, yeah, you can. Or if you're in doubt about it, it's like, do you know the tools to do that? It's like, yeah. I specifically took these tools because I wanted to do that. It's like, well, awesome narrative. Good job. Your reward is doing the thing that you wanted to do because you built your character around being able to do it. But, WotC doesn't want to teach you. They want to sell stuff to you. And the more you're dependent on them thinking for you, the more you have to buy their stuff if you want to stay inside their ecosphere. And again, just to reiterate it, I want to teach you the way that I think about these things, because if you understand how I think about stuff when I publish things, you just start to connect the dots like I can, like the martial power system and the Spelljammer system creates mecha combat. The Spelljammer kaiju stuff and the Mouse Ritter concept of miniature scale, you can now convert a cat into a 2-foot megadon creature that you absolutely have to attack it with something that's at least 6 inches in size. Otherwise, you're just a scratch on its cheek and you get tossed off and taking area of effect damage and falling damage because you just got shook off the cat because you're too small to actually hurt it. So now you have to deal with kaiju combat, which we did that 45-minute Kraken video that's on my video stream here. Like how to build mega kaiju and how you can create fleets of ships to attack them and what it takes to drive them away, and how you can have your characters drop and start attacking weak spots on that creature on like an individual character level if you want. But like once you understand how all those things work together, you can basically take those ideas and peel them apart and like have a 500-foot dragon that you're using like in Storm King's Thunder. So now you have to find a way to take out a 500-foot dragon. You can start using the flying castle in the Storm King Thunder to be a 500-foot spelljamming vessel that has giant-sized mecha in it that your characters can equip to go fight 500-foot dragons that are threatening Waterdeep. So you can take all these different tools and add them together to make different types of campaigns. And if you're using this Bastion system, you can start establishing points of power using that flying fortress as, yeah, we're an entire city that's mobile. What do you need us to move for you? Like you can become a resource center to the environment, so they aren't scared of you being in orbit above their city. They're excited that you're there because you're bringing them exotic materials, for instance. But this is like a blending of like 3 different types of campaigns of books that we're working on publishing that all work together to make Storm King's Thunder a very different experience than what was originally presented as. But that's the dream, to be able to create these different narrative elements and to give players and DMs enough tools for them to be able to think their way through those things themselves. Like Spelljammer plus MTG equals Theros, for example. You can convert Nyx, the afterlife of Nyx, the astral plane of Theros, into an environment that ships can ferry souls from the material world to the afterlife, and the Nyx is the element that you do that. And you can have all sorts of pirate warfare in that afterlife journey of reborn, attempting to like maybe fight their way to the shoreline to regain life, and they have to do that by basically stealing aboard your craft. So piracy becomes an issue in Nyx because all these souls are trying to escape the afterlife to get back to Theros. Like that's blending like 2 or 3 different types of campaign ideas that we have. So stuff like that. Fix and repurpose what you already have instead of buying something new each time. I usually prefer to do things the same. Yeah, it's because if it's a good resource that allows you to bend into different types of play, it's just a matter of, how would I want to build this concept? Like, well, what do we have already that has components or ideas about it that will lean into the fantasy that you're trying to itch? Anyway, I'm really rambling today, so I could probably speak more loquaciously, but I'm excited about these things. So but that's what we're going to do. We're going to come back and we're going to work on Bastions at 2 o'clock today. It's almost 9 o'clock here in Seattle now, so I'm going to finish up coloring in these branches, and then I'm going to drop off stream for a while. I got some stuff to do around the house, of course, but then we'll be back in 5 hours. This is Thursday, so I've got from 2 o'clock till 9 o'clock. However long I want to spend on stream working on Bastions, that's on me. When I decide I'm done, I'll log out and continue working on page layouts here for the Eberron adventure, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll keep working on this tree, and we'll keep working on that page the second part 2 of the adventure as well that I was showing earlier. We'll start working on those elements as well. And we'll have to put a canopy of leaves in here, but we'll get to that. But yeah, this is coming along. I'm really happy with this. So we'll finish this piece off, and hopefully we'll have a couple more pages done by bedtime tonight to keep pushing all the pages forward. But I've got the rest of the week off. I also have Monday and Tuesday off. Wednesday is a holiday. I'll be spending that with family and friends. And then Thursday next week, I'll be back on a normal schedule. So, I'll be getting a lot of progress done. It's every winter holiday, I give myself a vacation to act as though I am a full-time game developer. Where like if I was able to generate enough income off of making games to do what I want, how would I want to spend this week? And that's how I act. So I'm trying to follow my heart on what to be productive with, and build a regimen so that I can get stuff done and keep the house clean, keep myself healthy, while still focusing on all this artwork and game design and engagement. Yada, 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 all that stuff. So we're just about done for the next 5 hours, and we'll come back, work on Bastion for a while, see what kind of progress we can make on that. No, that's it. You're not distracting me at all, my guy. Not at all. This is great. This is... I've mentioned this before, but painting it's a solo activity. You know, you could maybe have multiple people working on the same painting, but doing it at the same time is obnoxious. And even if there are other people that are working on the same canvas as you, you're still inside your own space doing your own thing. Painting, sculpting, creative arts are by nature lonely. And one of the reasons why I stream at all is to hold myself accountable, to make sure I'm getting stuff, because procrastination is an issue, especially if I'm having an emotional crash with a project. It becomes very, very heavy for me to be able to open up the document and work on it. So by designating different projects, my primary project that I then artificially create a bottleneck around, like I need to get the page layouts for this adventure done so I can open up my night times to keep pushing artwork forward so I can get this whole thing published, because there's like 6 other books that we've been working on that are starting to stack up at different stages of completion that are going to start itching for some attention of getting published. It's like, this idea is ripe, dude, make it happen. It's like, but I've got like 3 other things I need to complete before that. It's like, okay, get to work. So that's one of the reasons why I stream, to make sure that I can show up and be accountable. And basically, like, if I'm going to run Kickstarters, I need to show up every day and be able to say, hey, here's the stuff that we're getting done that you invested in, and here's why you didn't waste your money. Here's where we're at. If you want to play test with me, you are welcome to do so. Jump into blah, 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 and then show off what we're doing. But the other thing is because it's such a lonely activity, it's like this gives me an opportunity to get an injection of conversation with people that I otherwise, like, it's like, you know, standing in line. I don't spend a lot of time standing in line in my life, not like I used to. So I lost that avenue as a point of connection in humanity. And so these distractions, as it were, it's just an opportunity for me to feel like I'm connected to something bigger than myself by being here. And I'm very intentionally creating that process because it makes me feel less lonely. Because I'm not going to be able to stop. I've stopped art before and I feel horrible. So I have to make art. And this is just a way for me to be less punished for doing what I have to do. So I greatly appreciate you being here. And anyone else that thinks this stuff is interesting, God bless you, because this is what I'm compelled to do. So, hey, this is our basis here. We'll end up putting in, like, we got like these highlight. Give me that. There it is. See, got like this little highlight color here we can kick in. And then we have like this dark here. Respect the hustle. Wow, thank you. That's very, very kind. It's just I've been a freelance artist since 1999, and I understand a lot of the pain that goes through the work that we do, and anything I can do just to keep the ball moving down the field is gold for me. So, like, the bottleneck is real, man. Like, there's so many. I am so excited about all these things that we're working on. It's like I can only do one thing at a time. And this Eberron project's been in the pipeline for too long, despite lucking out on not having it completed because of what's going on with 5e24. But in all reality, it probably should have been published already, and it just isn't. So in that sense, I am very, very fortunate. I'm going to have to find a snap branch because, like, the meat inside of the bark is very pale. But I'm not sure exactly what the RGB on that is. So we're gonna have to look that up. But this has got really good diversity in it. Even these leaves I can use as color filter in the background to break through any like dim light that comes through. That'll work well. This will be a good piece when it's done. I'm really happy with it. Really, really happy. Let's get that out of the way. Here. There, I need to stipple that out a little bit here to make it help fade into the environment a little bit better. This is a you can see here. Oops, wrong layer. Let's go back down to here. You can see how that shape is, but I can do like a cascade of them like this to make like this neat little bush effect. This is one of the things that I learned by doing 200 some odd different Bob Ross paintings for a year. That you can create these little replicating patterns, and it creates really cool effects. So Bob Ross, all he does is stipple. He stipples and smudges. That's all he does. Stipple and smudge. And depending on what brush he's using, it has different shape brush tips. And this is one of the shapes that I found he was using. Just when he taps stuff, I would grab screenshots of a single tap, and then I would polarize it, break it down, and then disintegrate it into very small. Like this is literally off of a Bob Ross painting where I built this brush from. So like almost all the brushes I have for making environments is literally pulled out of Bob Ross. I actually reached out to the Bob Ross company, asking them if they were interested in Photoshop ASP files for digital painting, and if they were interested in pursuing the idea of doing certification for painters using digital medium. They said no, because they didn't tell me why, but it's because most of their money comes from selling paint and canvas. Why the fuck would they want a digital environment? That's just buy it once and you're done. I'd be destroying their repetitive market. So they aren't interested at all. Even though Bob Ross taught me how to paint in color because of the way that his techniques work and what I can do with Photoshop, there's no real value to that from the company that controls the IP. So like kind of like Wizards of the Coast and D&D, it's kind of ultimately is a dead end for me. But it allowed me to develop the skills that I needed to become the artist that I am. God, I Fucking love Bob Ross. Forever in debt to that man. Thank you for living. Anyway, we're past 9, so happy exactly. I'm going to take off for now. So I got a mess from yesterday to clean up. And I need to, even though I'm off today, I still want to at least check in with the office to see if there's anything crazy going on that needs my attention. I do analytics and stuff, so there's probably not going to be a high demand for me right now, but I at least want to check in just to see what's going on because of, responsibility. But after that, I'm going to drop out and I'll get to work on these pages. I'm really inspired to work on this week. So I'm going to keep working on these pages, and then we're going to be back at 5 hours from now at 2 o'clock. We'll log back in and we'll do maybe 3 hours or so, maybe more of Bastion. And then I might be done for the day. We'll see where I go. But yeah, thanks, Doma, man. Thanks a lot for hanging out. I hope I can see you later on today. Anyone else that's checking in, stick around, like, subscribe, blah, blah. I'll be back in a little while, and we'll play with some more game mechanics. So, yeah, oh my God, thank you. See you on the other side, guys.